Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 6 game slate for the NBA. It is an interesting slate. There's actually not a ton of injuries comparatively, like when it comes to guys that are questionable. There's only a few that are questionable, though there are a lot of guys that are out, so we'll be going through those. First, let's get into game picks here. We got the Knicks over Orlando, the Pelicans over Atlanta, Phoenix over Brooklyn, Memphis over Chicago, Denver over Minnesota, and Oklahoma City over the Lakers. Keep in mind, LeBron may have a really big game here, considering he's getting pretty close to becoming the all-time scorer. He might try to break it today against Oklahoma City. We'll have to wait and see. But it does look like that there are some rumblings with several teams when it comes to trades, and so that stuff may end up becoming an issue in the slate, as well as some guys coming back from injury that have been out for a little while. So let's get into the injury report. Then we'll get into DraftKings and then FanDuel. So let's go ahead and start with the Knicks. Robinson is out and Barrett is questionable. Obviously, if Barrett was to miss, that would open up some availability. For the Magic, Bamba is out and Okeke is out. For the Pelicans, Zion continues to be out and Daniels is out. For the Suns, Booker should be back today. Payne and Shamet are both out. For the Nets, Curry is out, Warren is doubtful, and Durant is out. And it looks like Simmons is going to be back today. For the Bulls, Caruso is questionable and Green is out. For the Grizzlies, Adams remains out. For the Timberwolves, Gobert is questionable, Anderson is questionable, and Towns is out. For the Thunder, Dort, JRE, and Pokovetsky are out. And for the Lakers, LeBron is questionable. And then, of course, there's some trade rumors involving Russell Westbrook, so that could definitely play around with our situations today. But with that said, let's get into the players we do like. So I'm going to go ahead and preface this and say that play light today. There's not a whole lot of value. There's not a whole lot of exciting plays here. Some guys seem underpriced, but there's a lot of guys that seem way overpriced, and so I only have a small group of 6 players today for DraftKings to start with. We're just gonna have to wait on injuries and trades and all kinds of stuff. It's probably gonna be a rough couple of days with the trade deadline coming along, so let's go ahead and get into it though. First, we're going to start with Edmund Sumner for Brooklyn. I really was debating whether to even talk about him or another guy from Brooklyn today. I am going to talk about both of them simply because they have been playing extremely well. Sumner's been playing extremely well the last couple games. Now, with Kyrie being traded, he should get a lot of upside as a result of that. Now, Simmons hasn't played in those games, so if he is back today, which it looks like he is, then that would definitely hurt him some. If he does start, though, he would be viable, but I really think he's only if he starts. I'm also going to mention, Cameron Thomas. He's been playing absolutely insane the last 2 games. Really, last 3 games, he's been really good, but his price has come up a lot. I didn't use him yesterday because his price came up, of course, and he hit 7 threes. He's in a really good spot here. Again, with Simmons playing potentially, I don't know exactly how they're going to do the starting lineup, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. If it was up to me, I think I'm just going to look at whichever Sumner or Thomas ends up starting and go with that guy, because it looks like it would be like Simmons, Claxton, O'Neal, Harris, and then one of them. And so whichever one of those 2 ends up starting would be the guy that I would go with. Then we're going to look at the Brandon Ingram here for the Pelicans. He looks like he's probable today, so he is likely to play. This is a pretty decent matchup for him. His price is just too cheap for his upside here. As long as Zion is still out, he is going to be in a good spot. He's been playing really well as of late, and as you can see, even his floor games are kind of pretty high for his price today. He's way lower than he has been for most of the season. He's been over 8,000 for a while. So I'm a little surprised his price got this cheap, but I'm not going to complain about it because it just gives us a great value play on a slate that's really hard to find good options. And so he's one of my favorite plays on the slate, assuming he does end up playing. Then we're going to look at Xavier Tillman here. Tillman has been really good since when he's been starting for Adams, and as long as he continues to start, he's going to be somebody to consider. Obviously, his price has popped up some, so he's not a must-play anymore, but he is viable on this one. He is definitely capable of having a solid game in this situation. Then we're going to look at Jonas Valanciunas for the Pelicans. He's been playing really well for the most part, but he's had some bad games. His minutes tend to fluctuate, for the Pelicans, but with Zion still out, he's going to have probably around 20 minutes in this game against Atlanta. As long as he stays healthy, obviously he is probable today though, so he's good to go most likely. I do think he's in a good spot. His price has also come down a lot, just like Ingram's has, so I think he's viable on the slate. Then we're going to look at Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, Isaiah Hartenstein has played really good coming off the bench, though his price has come up, so he's no longer a must play as a result of his cheap price, but he is still viable here. He's been playing extremely well, and until Robinson comes back, Hartenstein is going to be somebody to consider. The only real catch here is we have a lot of centers that are good today. I've already mentioned 3 and 6 players, so he is viable, but I mean, I don't, I think I like Tillman a little bit better just based from the situation. And then we're going to look at Jamal Murray. He is also probable, lots of probable plays today. He has been rolling pretty well lately. He's a great matchup, though his price has come up a little bit, but he's still viable on the slate, and where there's not a ton of great options where you're just going to get pure amount of fantasy points. He's just been playing extremely good, and I look for him to continue to do that in a nice plus matchup against Minnesota. So with that said, let's go ahead and get over to FanDuel, and we're going to start with Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks. Now, I like him better here on FanDuel than DraftKings. He's been playing pretty good. His floor is a little bit lower than I'd like at his price, but he's been solid enough, and as long as he's playing, he's in a good spot against Orlando. He should be viable on the slate. We're also going to look at Brandon Ingram, who should be playing today. He is probable. He's been really good lately, though his price is not as cheap here on FanDuel as is on DraftKings, but he still has nice upside at this price, and so I think he's viable on the slate. Then we're going to look at Tillman for Memphis. Now, his price is considerably higher here on FanDuel, but he has been playing really well coming off the bench, or sorry, starting for the Grizzlies rather, and he does get enough blocks and steals most games combined at least in order to pay off for us in this matchup. Then we're going to look at Julius Randle, who's a lot cheaper here on FanDuel, surprisingly. He hasn't been playing quite as good as he had been playing. He's not hitting the 50 fantasy point mark a lot, but he is playing really well just the same. He is getting close to double-doubles and even triple-doubles in a lot of games. It's just a matter of time before he gets another big one, and so I look for him to be a great option here against Orlando. Then we're going to look at Nikola Jokic. He's been playing extremely well for Denver this season. Obviously, he is a triple-double machine. He has just been dominating. He took the last game off, but he should be back today. And if he is back, then he's going to be somebody to consider on the slate. And then CJ McCollum for the Pelicans. He seems a little bit too cheap here for his potential here. He's not a must-play, but he's a little bit cheaper here on FanDuel than DraftKings, so I do think he's viable. And so that's what I have for this particular slate. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing. Like I said before, this slate is kind of rough. Hopefully we get some injury situations that open up, or some trades or something like that. They give us some more value and find us some cheaper options, or at least open up some guys that are expensive to be good plays, because it's kind of rough today. So again, thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.